Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the channel. It's great to have you here. My name is Mr. Khan. I'm the founder of Mr. Khan's Politics on YouTube. We're also on Instagram, hoping to share with you some key tips and strategies and also some revision resources to help you gain the best grade across humanities, including A-level politics. A-level history will be specializing in modern Britain and the American dream, reality or illusion modules for history with A-level politics as well. And then we'll be also focusing on GCSE edXL's history module options. More info on those will be given in due course. So a little bit about me before we start and about this video. So my name is Mr. Khan. I'm a first year university student doing history and politics as a dual honors. Aside from my degree, I'm working as a tutor, tutoring A-level politics and A-level history, as you'll see on my Instagram. And I am also a supply teacher working at a school where I specialize in subjects that I teach. So obviously, if I do have a history class, they are in good luck. In terms of what today's video will be about is I'm going to be teaching you and tutoring you on the best strategies you can incorporate into your revision for A-level politics. I'm telling you this as someone who sat the exam in the summer, so I've been through it, and I went through it with such a degree of kind of motivation and kind of staying on track that I ended up achieving an A grade in politics, which was quite fantastic to see on results day. So that's why I'm so passionate about getting you the right grade and making sure you can achieve your potential over the next year. So that's what my plan will be as kind of your YouTube and education tutor for the subject. So let's move on. So one of the first points I'd like to start on is kind of the way you go about doing your revision in the first place. So, what I came across during my time doing the exam is that you don't need to highlight or make notes from the textbook because it limits your revision outreach. So, say for example, you're in class and your teacher says to you, I want you to revise, let's say, the Supreme Court on component two, which is paper two. So if I gave you the kind of task to go revise the Supreme Court, what this would mean is that instead of you highlighting or just making notes from the textbook, that isn't really putting information in your head. What that's doing is that it's just making you aware of what the content is. In order for the content to stick in your brain, you have to put it in action. So the way that I used to tell my peers, and I was tutoring year 12s last year as well, is a good way of doing that is essay plans, which I'll come on to later on. Essay plans are a good way of revising and incorporating and solidifying that knowledge. What also works for a lot of people is information posters. So, making a poster on what the Supreme Court is. For example, a peer of mine, when I did my A-level politics course, did a mind map on different topics and kind of like key stats and statistics that he was able to then use as SFD in the exam. That goes a long way. So don't just limit yourself to the textbook. The textbook is an information source. Yep, it's an information source. Now, what that means is that everything there is content for your exam, but you don't need to know all of that content for your exam. You don't need to know every single SFD piece for your A-level politics exam. It's about picking what works for you. And we'll talk a lot about kind of revision techniques when we do our monthly seminars online, which I'll talk about at the end. So let's move on. So I'm recording this video on Wednesday, the 22nd of October 2025. As you can see, I've got my lanyard on because I've just finished teaching at school. So it's the 22nd of October. We're basically recording this at half term, basically. Now, from this point onwards, when you're watching this video, so at the point of when I'm making this video, there's 25 weeks of lessons until the first exam. So that's not including holidays, that's just 25 weeks of teacher-based focus kind of learning content until the exam. So, for example, it's October now, you might still be doing your ideologies. You might still be doing component two. You might be looking at feminism, I don't know, socialism, that kind of thing. And then I think you start US kind of towards the start of the year, depending on your teachers. So you still haven't finished the content. But what this is that it's a good time to start getting ahead of the curve. It's about being above and beyond in your revision. So what I would do is at this point, I think 3 hours independent study of revision for politics will be ideal. After Christmas, that will change drastically. But right now, until Christmas, from October till December, 3 hours of revision for A level politics per week outside of kind of school and kind of outside your kind of teachers' homework and stuff. I think that's a really good starting point. So do bear that in mind and do incorporate that if you can, because it will help a long way. So essay plans, like I said, essay plans are fantastic. They literally got me through my A levels in politics as well, because what I revised, what I put into an essay plan, ended up coming in the exam. And I'll talk a little bit about other tricks and kind of things you can do to make sure you do the same. How do you make a successful and memorable essay plan? How can you do that? Whether it's so what I used to do is I used to do introduction, paragraph one, paragraph two, paragraph three, and then I used to do a conclusion. Um, that worked really well. Some people do 4 paragraphs. It's a personal choice. But I think 3 bulky main paragraphs will be good for politics. Um, you can do 4 if you want. It just depends. I did 4 in some. Um, in others, so like the 25 marker, I did 3 paragraphs. In some, 25, 24 markers, some people do 2 paragraphs. So it depends up to you. But I think make sure your paragraphs are strong and steady. If you want to do 4, you want to do 3, it's up to you, whatever you can fit into it. But the guideline is at least maximum 4. That's what I would say. So what you need to do for your essay plans is you basically need to prep it as if you're going to write it. So there's no point just writing paragraph one, paragraph two, paragraph three. Say the questions on, I don't know, does the Prime Minister still have authority? If paragraph one's going to be on the cabinet and you're not going to tell me what you're going to write, there's no point. So you need to really tell me. So you need to put your point, your evidence, your analysis, and then also your SFD. So that's how you do an essay plan. Conclusion is very important. You do get marks on the conclusion, so please ensure that you make your conclusion as if it's somewhat convincing. So, as the examiner, I need to see that his conclusion makes sense. It's summarizing what the students told me in the exam. So, we will talk a lot about essay plans in our monthly revision seminars, but I will also show you some past essay plans that I did, so some of my peers did, that made sense. But remember, you just need to hammer it out, really descriptive introduction, paragraph one, paragraph two, paragraph three, paragraph four, and then conclusion. That's the plan. We'll move on. I'll talk a little bit about essay plans as we move through our videos. Extracurricular is very important. You know, as a politics teacher, they will only be able to do so much for you in class. So your teacher will only be able to do so much for you in class for A-level politics. What I would recommend is that outside of the revision, you then incorporate A-level politics into your daily life. I'm not trying to sound sad. maybe I did go a bit far, but what I'm doing is that this will be for your benefit. So what I think is really good for extracurricular learning for the exam and for revision also is podcasts. Podcasts are amazing. Most of you probably have Spotify or SoundCloud. There's some amazing podcasts on there, like The Rest is Politics by Rory Stewart and Alistair Campbell. Also, BBC do Panorama on TV, which is not a podcast, it's an actual series. That's really good in terms of getting your revision for key events. In terms of podcasts, I think what's really good is A-level head of politics, Mr. Nick D'Souza, who has a Spotify podcast. I think it's £2 subscription, but he is absolutely amazing. He goes through each topic. He gives you so many examples. He really got me through my exams. So I will put a link in the description to Nick D'Souza's podcast so you can sign up. UK Parliament Live is really good in terms of seeing Parliament working in action. So whether that's PMQs or ministerial questions, you can then argue, what is this showing? Is PMQs for theatre or is it actual meaningful? And then select committees. Select committees are really interesting because I always feel like every year they're going to incorporate that into a sorcerer question. But select committees are really essential because what select committees do is that they hold the government to account. So if you identify and research different select committees, know how they're formed, who chairs them, and what kind of business they debate and kind of incorporate into parliamentary business, that will set you up really well because this is scrutinizing the government in action. Elections, keep an eye on elections. So every Thursday there's at least one by-election across the United Kingdom. Look at a trend. At the moment, Reform are going up, the kind of Labour surge is going down. Look at that. What is that showing us? Is that kind of populist, popular vote? What's that kind of showing us about the common consensus? Really pay focus on the trend because when you get to the exam, kind of knowing who's surging in the polls will go a long way. And then TV. So like I said, BBC Panorama is really essential, kind of just looking at political documentaries, understanding, what can I do to enhance my learning goes a long way. You know, I think there's a BBC documentary on Tony Blair and New Labour. That's fantastic. Watch that. It really breaks down the different kind of policy and elections. It goes a long way. So yeah, I will put a few links of what I think will be quite beneficial to you in the description. Please do have a look at that. And yeah, we will talk more about that going forward. So let's move on. Really important, don't just rely on predictions. If you follow me on TikTok, I'll put a link below. You can see that my predictions last year, they were narrow and miss. In terms of AS level, I got nearly everyone right. In terms of the A level paper, I got, I think, 70% right, 30% was a miss. I think I predicted socialism and the state instead of socialism, and human nature, I want to say, was the question. Obviously, predictions are hit and miss. Don't just base your predictions. Don't just base your revision around predictions because you will set yourself up to fail. Um, it's honestly that simple. Do look at gap analysis. Gap analysis is really good in terms of showing you what might not come up. But then at the same time, EdXL in the summer, liberalism came up 3 years in a row. Like, what does that say? Conservatism didn't come up. Potentially, it might come up next year, but what's to say that it can't? You know, predictions are hit and miss. EdXL, once they get those trends going, they can revoke them anytime, which is really scary. But I'll do a full video on kind of predictions and what you can expect towards December, and we'll go through that. Ask your teacher for extra reading and resources, and also ask them to mark your essays. If, for example, in lesson you're looking at socialism, you're looking at key thinker Anthony, say you're looking at, I don't know, let's say Anthony Giddens for socialism, and say you've done the lesson, ask your teacher if they have any links to Anthony Giddens' work, kind of identify what he basically said. Key quotes are essential for the 24 marker on ideology. If you can get some memorable quotes of Anthony Giddens' Third Way, New Labour ideology in your head, you're destined to succeed in the exam if it comes up. It's as easy as that. So do ask for extra reading and resources, and also ask them to mark your essays. So do practice essays. Keep hammering those practice essays, get them in. and obviously ask your teacher to mark them. So, for example, when I was doing A-level politics, my two politics teachers were amazing, really helpful. I gave them essays, I got them back in a day. Your teachers may have different workloads, it may depend on them, but at least kind of incorporate that communication in terms of seeing what they can support you with. Because the more practice you get in, the more feedback you get in, the more your exam will go as well. Let's move on. So let's just look at the plan for the next few months in terms of my YouTube videos and kind of online on social media. So in November, focusing solely on socialism, kind of going through key aspects. We'll be doing a lot of work on socialism. I'm hoping for 4 videos to come out at the end of November on socialism. In December, we'll be doing conservatism, the same. I'll be aiming for 4 videos to come out for conservatism over the 4 weeks. January, I'll be looking at liberalism. Same again, 4 videos, 4 weeks. February, we'll be moving on to comparative politics, kind of looking at the US. In terms of that, online, I'll create some resources and kind of upload some resources for UK politics from my previous experiences. That is the plan for the next few months on my channel. Every month, I will also be hosting a live revision webinar on a particular topic on a weekday evening. So obviously the YouTube channel is very up and running, very recent. Once we've expanded that, every month there'll be a webinar on a different topic on a weekday evening. So we'll do like a Wednesday or Thursday depending on availability. And we'll look at, for example, I don't know, is the UK Constitution outdated? That's the kind of topics we'll be looking at. We'll really dig deep, pick out what works, what doesn't work, incorporate into some exam questions, give you the answers, that kind of thing. So we have a fantastic few kind of months going forward for politics. Obviously, I hope the channel will build, and that's the kind of aim that I'm hoping we'll be able to achieve. If you sort of have any questions at all, you can message on Instagram. Happy to support and assist tutoring politics in any way. But yeah, that's the plan for the next few months. But yeah, essentially, just want to say thank you for watching today's video. Hopefully, I've given you a bit of tips and tricks into how to start off your revision if you haven't already for A-level politics. If you have any questions, do reach out. My inbox is open. This is the time basically you can really achieve what your potential can be. UCAS probably applications are going in if you're going to go into university anytime soon. What are your predicted grades? And really think, am I basically going to be able to achieve that predicted grade by the end of summer at this current rate? If the answer is no, then after this video, you know what to do. If the answer is yes, then just keep watching Mr. Khan's Politics and I'll help solidify that aim. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope this video has helped you. And I look forward to seeing you in November when we start socialism. Thank you.